and when I was looking at the sky, the little girl seized me by the elbow. The street was empty, and hardly anyone was about. In the distance, a cabby slept in his droshky. The girl was about 8, in a kerchief and a thin dress. She was soaked to the skin, but I remember her wet, torn shoes clearest of all, and still remember them. I noticed them especially. She suddenly caught at my elbow and begged me to come. She did not cry, but somehow called out words abruptly which she could not pronounce properly because she was shivering so much with cold. She was aghast at something and called out desperately, "Mommy! Mommy!" I turned my face towards her, but did not say a word and walked on. Only she ran around me and pulled at my sleeve, and the note which expresses despair in very frightened children rang out in her voice. I know that sound. Though she did not finish what she was trying to say, I understood her mother was dying somewhere, or something had happened to them, and she had run out to fetch someone and find something to help her mother. But I did not follow her. On the contrary, I suddenly felt the urge to drive her away. First I told her to find a policeman, but she clasped her hands and, sobbing breathlessly, ran beside me, refusing to leave me. Then I stamped my foot at her and raised my voice. She just cried out, "Sir, sir," and then suddenly left me and rushed across the road. Someone else was passing by there, and she left me to run to him. I climbed the stairs to the 5th floor. I live with the landlord, and they rent out rooms. My room is poor and small, and the window is a semicircular attic one. I have an oilcloth sofa, a table for my books, 2 chairs, and a comfortable armchair. It's very ancient, but well sprung. I sat down, lit a candle, and began to think. In the next room, behind the partition, a bacchanalia was still going strong. They had begun it the day before yesterday. A retired captain lived there, and he had some guests, about 6 men of dubious reputation. They were drinking vodka and playing faro with an old pack of cards. The night before there had been a quarrel, and I know 2 of them were dragging each other around by the hair for a long while. The landlady wanted to complain, but she is very frightened of the captain. We have only one other lodger in our rooms, a short, thin lady from an army family, not a town-bred person, with 3 small children who fell ill afterwards in these rooms. Both she and the children are so frightened of the captain that they are ready to faint and spend the night shivering and making the sign of the cross over each other, while the youngest child even had some sort of fit of terror. I know for certain that this same captain sometimes stops passers-by in the Nevsky and begs for alms. No one will give him work, but strangely enough, after all, that's why I'm telling this story, during the whole month the captain has spent with us, he never called forth any vexation on my part. Of course, I made no attempts to get acquainted with him from the first, and anyway, he was bored with me at the very beginning, and so however many of them there were there, I never cared. I sit all night and honestly don't even hear them, I forget them so completely. I haven't fallen asleep until daybreak for the past year. I spend the night in my armchair doing nothing. I only read books during the daytime. I just sit and don't even think. Thoughts wander through my brain and I set them free. The whole candle burns out in the night. I sat down by the table quietly, took out the revolver, and put it in front of me. When I laid it down, I remember I asked myself, "All right?" and answered myself with complete determination, "All right." I meant to shoot myself. That is, I knew I would certainly shoot myself during that night, but I did not know how much longer I would sit by the table until then. And, of course, I would have shot myself if it hadn't been for that little girl.